Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I exercise myself in matters too great or in things too wonderful for me. Surely I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with his mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me, ceased from fretting. O Israel, hope in the Lord, from this time forth and forever. Psalm 131. So many turn to different rhythms, different things that they can do throughout the day to help them find peace, to try to find that true peace of quietness within their hearts, like staying off the phone by creating a dopamine list, which I have seen many videos of, or taking daily walks, reading a book, things that are of a slow pace. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's actually good. It can help us cope with the daily stressors and difficult seasons that we face in life. But true, genuine quietness of heart, and to have and keep a quiet heart, lies within an inner working that must take place in order to have and keep a quiet heart. Towards the second half of 2023 and into the first half of 2024, my husband and I built a small home. It took a little longer than we had expected, which brought a lot of anxieties, a lot of worries, a lot of concerns. And also during that time, the first part of 2024, someone really close to me found out that they had cancer, and shortly after, about 4.5 months after finding out, went to be with the Lord. And right after that, it was time to move into our new home. Now that we're currently in the second season of fall that we've been here in this new home, there are still a lot of projects that need to be done outside before it gets too cold and before the slowness of the season comes in full swing. So from the time that we started building this house until now, there have been many, many changes, a lot of stresses in life, a lot of difficult seasons, including depression and a lot of anxiety. And I've had to learn how to have a quiet heart. When I first heard that term, I was listening to someone that I haven't listened to in a while because I've moved on to listening to someone else, but I was listening to a woman by the name of Elizabeth Elliot, which many of you may have heard of. And she was the first one that I heard talk about keeping a quiet heart. I didn't really know what that looked like. I started trying all kinds of things just to try to figure out how to have a quiet heart and how to keep a quiet heart. And like I mentioned earlier, I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube of other women who have shared some of the things that they're doing, making a dopamine list instead of going to our phones to find other things that we can do instead of scrolling. I've also tried a program that was very Christ-centered that included learning how to really just breathe through stress and take other measures to help reduce stress and to help find that place of peace. Although some of those things, actually all of those things, have helped, they've only helped to a certain degree, and it was really only until I surrendered and I said, okay, Lord, I trust what you're doing, that I've really been able to find that true place of quietness, that I've really been able to have a quiet heart and keep a quiet heart. Now, I'm not saying that I've arrived, as Paul said, but I am saying that it's so much more than the external things we do. And like I said, they are very helpful in helping us to cope with the stressors and difficulties and tribulations that life brings. or that is in this life, because we live in a sinful and dark world. But it's so much more than that. It goes deeper than that. It is an inward work that only the Lord can do and only can take place when we fully surrender to His will. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3, it says, "You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you." And also, Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, it says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." So as you can see, there is something to letting go, surrendering to the will of God, and trusting in Him that we find true quietness of heart. Elizabeth Elliot, like I mentioned, was the first one that spoke of, or that I heard speak of, keeping a quiet heart. And she wrote a simple prayer, and it's in her book that she wrote, Keep a Quiet Heart. She wrote, "Lord, give to me a quiet heart that does not ask to understand, but confident steps forward in the darkness, guided by thy hand." She also said, "A quiet heart is content with what God gives. It is enough. All is grace." I also started listening to Revive Our Hearts, and it's founded by Nancy DeMoss Wolgemuth, and she has truly been a tremendous source, or should I say, her words and the wisdom that the Lord has given her and all that she has learned has been a source of encouragement and has really helped me to grow in my walk with the Lord in keeping a quiet heart. And the podcast that I have been listening to recently from Revive Our Hearts is all about keeping a quiet heart, and that is where I referenced Psalm 131. And she says, and I quote, in this passage, Psalm 131, it directs us to some qualities that need to be true if we're to have a quiet heart in responding to life as it is on this fallen planet. A heart attitude of humility, a heart attitude of simplicity, and with humility and simplicity, it leads to quietness. And then also a heart attitude of trust. And then I just want to leave you with one more thing that she ends this podcast with. She says, if God is with you, if He is around you, if He is your fortress, if you have His presence in your life, you don't have to understand everything. You can be still. You can have a quiet heart. And the one thing that I want to point out here that she says is you don't have to understand everything. That's something that she talks about a little bit in this podcast that really hit home for me, because one thing that I struggled with after the one who was close to me that passed and went to be with the Lord was understanding why. I couldn't understand why. And something that really helps me and has helped me recently to keep a quiet heart is just allowing some things to be unknown, some things to just be kept with God for Him to know and maybe for me to never find out. It's in those moments where we let go and we trust God that we're able to keep a quiet heart. Keeping a quiet heart is not just for the difficult times, but every day, because every day brings its own problems and worries. I pray that this message, as always, was an encouragement for all of you. I pray that you all stay faithful. God bless you.